So last thing that I could really remember leaving off was I had purchased the Mitsubishi TD03 MHI Turbo. That was a very expensive purchase. It was like $1,800. It was a real expensive purchase. And I threw it on the car, went driving with it, and I have to admit, I was not happy with the performance of the turbo, especially compared to the stock turbo. When I nailed it, when I punched it, I was just like in shock. I was like, really? Like, if I turned my stock turbo up to like 25 psi, I was almost at the same limit, or it was the same amount of power I felt out of the MHI TD03. So my stock TD025, pushing 25 pounds, felt almost like the MHI TD03. So I wasn't impressed with the power output. I was kind of disappointed. And then after I think it was almost 700 miles, I had to take the car into the dealership for an oil change. So they did the oil change. Now the factory oil recommended is 0W20. That's what the Honda dealership, that's what Honda recommends for the factory oil. So of course, I go with the routine, that's what's supposed to be in there. Let's go ahead and do it. That was what was in the car at the time. Now mind you, the 0W20 oil that was in the engine at the time that turbo was installed, it was down to somewhere around 40% life left. So it was pretty used up. Then, when the dealership did the oil change, the following day, I took the car out for a drive, put about 80 miles on it, and then the car started smoking. Like the engine just started blowing, the exhaust started blowing oil, like smoke, like you wouldn't believe. So I was like, oh shit. So I drive the car all the way back to the house, and the smoke is just getting worse. And then on top of that, the turbo started making this god-awful noise. It was just shrieking like as if it was a supercharger. So we ended up taking the turbo off the car, putting the stock turbo back on. And when we took the turbo off the car, it was blown. It was done. It was a wrap. And I was pissed off because the turbo was only on the car for about 6 days. And that was it. It was done. 6 days and the turbo was blown out. So I had put a post up on the Civic X forums, and someone actually contacted me. It was one of the guys from Edge Auto Sports, and he told me the same thing. He was like, dude, did your turbo blow out too? And I was like, yeah. He goes, man, we had 2 of them blow out back to back. And I was like, oh snap. So they asked me to just not mention anything during that time frame, because they were working with MHI in order to carry their product, and they wanted to see what MHI was willing to do, or what could be found, or whatever they could do. They didn't want to have a bad relationship. So I was like, cool, I won't say nothing. So I just stayed quiet about it until they finally came out with their video where they told basically everybody in the world, hey, we had 2 of them, we put them both in the car, and both of them took a shit back to back. So eventually it took nearly 2 months to get my money back on the warranty for the turbo, because initially MHI wanted to send me out another turbo. I was like, nah dude, you know what, my turbo blew out in less than a day. The Edge Auto Sports turbos blew out 2 of them in less than a day. And I'm just like, I don't want to take the chance of having a turbo explode on the engine, and then the engine sucks blades and parts all in through the cylinders, and just completely blows out the bottom end of the engine. I don't want none of that issue. So I just said, screw it, just give me my money back and I'll be cool, we're good, we'll just go from there. So at the same time that I sent the turbo back, I had heard a rumor that RV6 was prototyping a turbo. So I was like, alright, so let me contact RV6, and I asked them in regards to the rumor, and they were like, maybe. And I was like, well, if maybe is a possibility, they put me on the list for one of those turbos. I was like, cash in hand, bro, let's go right now. So they were like, all right, when we get something, we'll let you know. So they only released 10 prototypes, not including the very first one. So there was only like 11 or something like that, I think. So I got my email one day late, and then I saw the invite to buy the turbo. So as soon as I saw my invite to buy the turbo, boom, messaged them. They sent the email, they sent the link, I sent the money, and we were set. I ended up getting turbo number 4 of 10. So I was fucking happy as fuck, I'm one of these people that's gonna get to beta test one of the prototype turbos. So I was like, cool. Turbo comes in, made the appointment to take the car down to E-Man. So E-Man, we get the car to him, we get the turbo to him, and once the turbo's installed, you wouldn't believe, it's just my bad luck. That's just how it is, my bad luck. I leave the shop, I drive about 3 miles, and the turbo messes up. My car starts freaking out, saying there's an error, there's a problem. So I was like, oh shoot. So I'm flipping U-turn, I go back to E-Man. Call him up and said, hey, we got a problem. The turbo's I got this check engine stuff going off. The turbo's not building any boost. We got an issue. So I get back to E-Man's shop, takes a look at everything, breaks everything down, and then he noticed the boost control, the wastegate actuator, it was real hard to move. It wouldn't move. It was starting to bind up. As it cooled down, it started becoming harder and harder to move the actuator. So we ended up taking the turbo back off, reinstalling the stock turbo, because the wastegate on the housing for the RV6 prototype, the tolerance was too tight. So once the housing got heated up to operating temperature on the car, it seized, it binded, and it wouldn't move anymore. It was almost to the point as if it had welded itself in a fixed position where it just wouldn't move. So we contacted RV6, sent them pictures, sent them video of it, and so RV6, they checked a couple of theirs, and then they were like, well, it seems like everything's fine. But they gave it another couple of days of more testing, and sure enough, a couple of the prototypes that they had on hand, it did the same thing. So they're like, oh, okay, we're gonna fix this. So my turbo was the first one to do it. I was the first one to get the issue reported. All the rest of the turbos were remachined. All the housings were remachined to prevent that issue. And now, perfect. Fucking turbo works perfect. And dude, I feel great because I was able to contribute to the automotive industry, where people are going to be buying these turbos now. They're available for sale, and I helped resolve a problem, so that way future purchasers won't have to go through that. So it feels great. It feels good, being able to contribute to something like that. So now the turbo's on my car, the RV6 turbo. We went ahead and took the AFE downpipe off, and we installed the RV6 catless downpipe, and we also installed the RV6 front pipe. Originally on the car had the AFE catless downpipe to the stock front pipe and the stock exhaust. So now we're running the RV6 turbo, RV6 catless downpipe, RV6 front pipe. We're still using the stock exhaust system. Currently, I have no idea what the situation is, but for whatever reason, it just seems impossible to get an exhaust system from anybody. I've had an exhaust on order from Remark since January. We're already in May, and that remark exhaust still hasn't come in. Then I put in an order I tried to find an HKS exhaust. Nobody has an HKS exhaust. So I put in an order for an ARC exhaust. That one won't be in until supposedly next month after the 16th. So I have no idea what the hell is going on, but it's damn near impossible to find a fucking complete catback exhaust system. Good God. So much fucking high patrol out right now. It's just unbelievable. What the hell? So anyways, so we're on the waiting list for the remark exhaust. We're on the waiting list for the ARC exhaust. Whichever one comes in first, that's the one that's going to get thrown in the car. The other one's going to get canceled. And then the HKS exhaust, that was another situation. I was going to order it, but again, it's on a back order, but they're talking about till sometime even later, like July. And I'm like, nah, I'm not fucking trying to deal with that. So that's just out the question. Another thing that got changed up, I was using the PRL cold air intake with the race MAF, and I didn't like the way that the long-term fuel trim was setting up on the initial startup of the car. The race MAF diameter is so much larger than the stock that the velocity of air that's needed to travel through there at idle, it's, I would say, less because it's a larger volume. And so it would, like, I was just constantly having issues with the air fuel trims, with the fuel trims just being so far off. I was just completely uncomfortable with it. It didn't matter how many times I adjusted it, how many times I rescaled it, every single time the car would flip out and just be like ridiculously rich. And I was just like, dude, I'm just done with this shit. So I went ahead and I went and ordered the street MAF for the PRL cold air intake, and I've had no issues with the street MAF. The street MAF housing, it looks exactly the same diameter as the stock one. Now, a lot of people will be like, you know, because I even emailed PRL about it. They're like, well, you know, what are your fuel trims at? What are they at? And I'm like, they're at like 19 and 20 on startup, and that's way too rich. So they were like, well, you know, you're going to get the most power out of the race MAF housing, which is cool. But you know what? The race MAF housing is intended for just that. If you're going to keep the car as a race car, like you're going to just take it to the track and you're going to fucking beat the shit out of it, it's pure drag racing, street racing, well, not street racing, but just pure racing, track racing, whatever you're going to race it on, it's just straight racing. I'm sure that the race MAF will be wonderful. However, if you intend to drive the car every day, go with the street MAF. The street MAF is going to be way better for your car's performance on a daily. So, some information that I came across, the street MAF or your stock mass airflow housing is actually good up to about 340 horsepower. So if your car is not making over 340 horsepower, that's cool. You don't need to go to a race MAF. If you're going to be making over 340 horsepower, which I know you could do with the PRL big turbo kit for the SI. One of my friends, he has the kit. He put down 348 to the wheel.
3 right lanes.
So he put down 348 at the wheels. So, you know, when you're in that situation, yeah, go with the race MAF. But like for my example, I'm only putting down like somewhere around the last dyno measurement that I took. I had a boost leak issue, and the car maxed out at 25 psi. That's all it did. It hit 25 and it was just saying, we're done, that's all you're getting. So it just like stopped building boost at 25. Since then, I found out what the issue was. I've corrected the issue, and now the car hits 28 pounds of boost, 29 pounds of boost as commanded, no problem. So I need to go back in and reschedule another dyno session to find out what the new number is hitting the higher boost. But when it was locked at 25 pounds, the car put down 280 horsepower to the wheels, 200, I think it was like 278, 277 foot-pounds of torque. And it was linear, like the dyno was, it was crazy because the horsepower and torque just copied each other, just went perfect, like with each other. The turbo is going to give you more power output the more higher in the RPM you go. Currently, I have my red line set to, I think, something like 6,400. I don't have that that oiling gear. I forgot the name of the company, but that oil pump gear. There's an oil pump gear that's out there that you could install on your engine, and it'll support well past redline. So that's what allows some of the people to increase the redline on their engine. Some of these cars nowadays, they're redlining at 7,000. They're pushing the red lines to 7,000, 7,500, stuff like that. I don't recommend doing it, especially if you have stock rods. Oh my God, dude, these people, they just all want to race. It's like, you guys are in the wrong lane, or at least a lot of other people around it. Like this guy going slow as hell. He should be in this lane that I'm in, but nah, he wants to be in the lane that I was supposed to be in. So anyways, back to the subject. Don't increase your red line unless you have new rods, and that oil pump gear. Because if you have the stock rods and you have that stock oil pump and you try to increase your red line to 7,000, 7,500, kiss your stuff goodbye. Trust. But that's where we are. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, that's not where we are. Let me also add in this. So since I had fixed the boost leak, the weekend that I found the boost leak issue and I resolved it and the car started hitting 28 pounds, I drove the car for half a day, hitting 28, 29 pounds of boost. And once you know it, that very night, I stripped third gear out completely. Gone. I was just driving, just put gas in the car. First gear, second gear, third gear. Whew. Oh shit. Fourth gear. I was like, okay, I still got fourth gear. Let me try to make it drive back to the house. Then the car started freaking out. Error, check this, check that, check this, check that, all kinds of errors. And then I was like, well, we can still get away with driving on an error, you know, we ain't got to worry too much. And then the car started losing power. And I was like, okay, now we have a problem. The car's losing power. No speedometer on the dash. The steering system got incredibly weird. It was like oversensitive or something. It just was like, I didn't know if I broke something in the steering or what exactly happened there, but that was another weird situation. But nonetheless, oh, this fucking idiot's gonna kick. Oh yeah, you stupid fucking idiot. You didn't see the fucking gator. So anyways, fuck that guy. What ended up happening was, once the car stripped out third gear, I was pretty much left with no choice. We could either waste money and put a stock third gear back in there, or we could just go totally big dog and go PPG all the way. So, obvious choice, went PPG. So now we have the PPG gear set, first through fourth. The final drive, the only one that we could find, because my final drive got damaged too. We didn't know that until after the transmission was taken off and the casing was opened up. One of the teeth, I guess, from when the third gear completely shaved itself, got into the final drive teeth and damaged the final drive. So in a short notice, we couldn't find a 2020 gear for it, so we ended up having to just reuse the stock 2017 gear. Well, not the one that was damaged. We had to buy a new stock one. So that plus the PPG gears, all said and done, that's now on the car. The gear wine is You can hear it. I freaking love it. I don't know what other people think. I don't really care. I love it. I love the way it sounds. If you ever watch videos of rally cars racing and you just hear that whoop, and then they shift gears and you keep hearing that gear whine and you keep hearing the gear whine, that's exactly what it sounds like, and I freaking love it. So that's where we are right now. I should have close to 10,000 miles on the RV6 Turbo. Pretty soon here at the end of the summer, I'm going to go ahead and probably buy a W2 Turbo just to see how it is, see how it performs, and take off the RV6, get a good deep look at it, see how well it's lasted through 10,000 miles. I still have some stuff that I need to install in the car. The charge pipes are still stock. I wanted to install this AEM wideband air fuel ratio kit, so I'm going to be doing that when I have some time. And then Frankenstein is still alive with me, so I'm going to be modifying Frankenstein pretty soon here. I got to do a bunch of stuff to that car because that car is running like shit. Like, I really don't even want to fucking drive it. So we got some cool shit for Frankenstein coming your way. I'm going to be working on that one this weekend. And I'm going to try and get back on the grind, get us some more videos posted, and keep the builds coming. So I thank you for sitting through this and watching through it. I hope this helps out with a lot of stuff. If you have any questions, feel free to leave questions. I'll respond back as soon as I can see them or as soon as I find them, and I'll help you guys out. Thanks a lot. Like and subscribe, man. Appreciate it.